Welcome to one and all. I'm Tim Mosso, and this is Watches Tonight. This evening, we ask, what is a $10,000 watch in 2025? We chat live, I share your viewer wrist shots, all of that live tonight on Watches Tonight. We've got Nick on the switcher, we've got Garrick sitting in. Thanks to all of you, thanks to them. And while we're warming up, do me a favor, open up my Instagram, Tim_Mosso, where you can check out my 60-second mini reviews. Now over 3,000 of them. You can literally binge watch my Instagram. I also put up a little bit of insight into the world of Tim Mosso from time to time. All right, in the box, we've got Edward Ledden of Sweden, Enrique Cassiano, we've got Soma R, Mark S of Brooklyn, Jim Millett of the UK, Matteo C, we've got Moto Gunner from Athens, Georgia, you're in the show tonight, Arto Shar from New York City, Dr. Kevin Moore, we got Richard Combs from South Florida, Slow Boy Fuel Pump, and a local boy, Tim Mancuso, wishing us all a very happy Veterans Day. Joe Tyson from Apex, North Carolina, we got Rob Filmer from Chicago, Michael Everywhere, Vince, Dixon Lee, Kay, Rousey, welcome guys. All right, so instant gratification, I asked, you answered. Viewer wrist shots number one. Eric O kicks off, literally, with American football and his Rolex Daytona Oyster Flex. Nicely done. Jeff S impresses with his Arm & Strom Mirrored Force Resonance. And actually, Jeff makes a return. Check that out with the Snoopy 3 and his Rolls-Royce Ghost Black Badge. I am a long-time British car fan, so I love everything about that. Guillermo showcases his 1916 bought AP Royal Oak chronograph, which I adore, especially in that size. Andrew P and his Porsche hit the road with a Rolex CPO Submariner Hulk. It's a new thing. It's a new world. Gus G, Moto Gunner. He was in the chat box, and now he is on your screen at Petit Le Mans at Road Atlanta with his Omega Seamaster Diver 300 meter. I watched every single minute of it. That Cadillac pass, and then the will they, won't they issue with the headlights at the end. Oh my gosh, what a finish that was. I went to Petit Le Mans live back in 2001. I saw the Audi R8 dominate. This year was a better race. Okay, send your wrist shots to the Monday Mailbag at thewatchbox.com or Monday Mailbag at the 1916 Company. By the way, I am wearing my throwback Watchbox beanie cap tonight. All right, before we get too far into the program, let me express my thanks to our veterans for their service and sacrifices. I hope everyone today has a solemn and mindful Veterans Day. Sacrifices are a big one because in the military, service is sacrifice, and I spent enough time around servicemen of all stripes and women to realize that it really is the sacrifice as much as the service. You have to give up a lot just deploying. Danger, stress, tough memories, time away from family, discipline, and all the physical injuries that come with service or crosses to bear on a daily basis, especially on that last count, the injuries. I've never known anyone who served for years in the military and didn't leave with some kind of chronic physical injury or pain. So for bearing that and more, thank you very much. Getting back on our schedule tonight, because all of us, veteran and civilian, love watches, we're going to ask, what does a $10,000 watch look like in 2025? By the way, guys, if you're a veteran or you're active service, I want to recognize both of you. It's not just the folks who've completed their service, it's very much those who are active around the world right now. Okay, and we've got in the box, John Actison from Wales, UK. We got Troy Kent joining in from Paris. We have John Goodman. We've got Thomas Burnett. Mark saying that Arm & Strom is hot. I agree with you right there. Rick on Watches is in the box. And we've got Neil B from Naples, Florida. All right, guys, welcome to one and all. O'Neill M, thank you very much for the sentiment. So, $10,000 watches. When I was a kid in the 1990s, entry-level cars, like the most entry-level car, think Subaru Justy, think some kind of entry-level 3 or 4 cylinder Hyundai. Those were new cars for around $10,000. That's back in 1993, 94, 95. They wouldn't clock you and watch you diamond shining back in 1995, but at least you'd have a new car with a warranty. Of course, $10,000 cars are long gone here in the USA, and the extinction of $20,000 cars seems imminent. These days, more and more watches, even those that are not horlogerie, are breaking the $10,000 barrier in the wrong direction. And that's understandable because after all, everything becomes more expensive with time, and most of these brands are owned by big, publicly traded luxury groups. But at the same time, I understand the frustration among collectors, since most of this seems to be pure price bloat rather than qualitative improvements. So let's take a look at what $10,000 buys, new versus used, as 2025 looms in the not-so-distant future. Okay guys, starting off with Blancpain. I talked about horlogerie. This is a watch that still qualifies. Now, as you can see on your screen, you're not going to get this for $10,000. Fortunately, the value in a watch of this league can be obtained by buying it used. The bathyscaphe gray ceramic looks and wears fantastic at 43.6 millimeters and lighter than you expect because, after all, it is all ceramic and sapphire. If you're not familiar with ceramic, it's a very light material in a watch. Mechanically, it's equal in depth rating and movement to the standard 50 fathoms, so while the bathyscaphe is a more vintage-inspired shape and look, it can do everything the Big Brother 5015 or 5010 can also do. Movement finish is machine applied, and you can see because of the way that bevel rounds around its edge, and also the way it sort of rolls up over the top of the bridge at its edge. But make no mistake, this is extremely handsome, mechanically applied on glage. And don't assume all machine finish is created equal. I want to be super clear about this. There is another type of nuance in machine finish we don't often discuss. I've seen plenty, and get a good look at that, of machine finished bridges from other brands that are rough cut, ugly, and crude. Look right there, you can see milling marks, upper left hand corner, you can see that there are marks left from mechanical tools on the top of the bridge. You can see there's even a little bit of corrosion and breakthrough amid the rhodium on the bevel itself. Can we go back to the previous slide? That's how Blancpain does it. Again, not all machine finish is created equal. So, the market for these is actually below new Submariner territory. I know I can't talk about brand R, so we're talking about brand X. The good news is brand X has everything going for it. Blancpain depreciation, even with the divers, which are their hottest products, it's still very much on your side. And you can expect to get one of these for solidly under $9,000, probably still including some degree of warranty protection. And you're getting fantastic value for something that is truthfully AP level in pedigree and even a little bit better in detail execution. AP bevels look more like the bad bevel that I showed you before. They're neater than that, but an AP machine bevel doesn't look like this. And I've often thought that these bevels looked almost too good to be true, but I figured out that it must be the same equipment that was used for the old 1863 caliber sapphire sandwich moon watches, because those bevels, especially on the steel chronograph parts, looked indistinguishable from hand finish. I think within the Swatch Group, they've paid big money to be able to do those kind of rounded mirrored bevels in mechanically mass-produced fashion, and that's deeply impressive. What's going on in the box? We have Junior Johnson from Michigan, Stephen E. from Detroit. We've got Darren Brown tuning in from Wales and staying up late from the UK. Jim Millett saying, love Tim's Garrick, that is my S6. This is, for the entire world, serial number 001, and I take a lot of pride in that. I'm a big fan of what Dave and his crew do at Garrick. We've got Aristocratic from Asheville, North Carolina. We got Scott from Marion, Pennsylvania, Abdul staying up late in Germany, Geezer and Jenks, with Curtis Arndt from the left coast of the United States. Curtis, thank you for your service and your sacrifices. Marine aviator in the box, and a great watch enthusiast. So, Patek Philippe, not in this episode. No, I know it's a little bit of a bait and switch there, guys. But for $219,760, Patek will happily sell you that platinum 5270p perpetual calendar chronograph. IWC, however, built its landmark Da Vinci perpetual calendar chronograph from 1985 to 2003, and there are plenty of options regarding this long production run in stainless steel. You can get a later example with luminova and a sapphire. You can get an earlier example with tritium and a plexi. The choice is yours. No matter what, you're getting a programmed, quick-settable perpetual calendar by Kurt Klaus. Inside of IWC's system, there's a quick set. So as you adjust the date, the day, the date, the month, the moon, the year, the decade, they all move in mechanically programmed sequence. If you can set a date just with a quick set, you can set this calendar and you'll never need to look up the moon phase. Underneath that, well, we've got an Adventurine glass moon phase disc and an automatic chronograph with an IWC modified 7750 base. At 39 millimeters, this is an easy watch to wear, even on my wrist, and you can see it has those lovely hinged Vendome lugs. They're hinged at the case and then they're hinged again at the spring bar. To be fair, not everyone loves the Hanno Bircher design and its hinge lugs. Plus, the plexiglass crystal and tritium dials on older models reveal this watch as a product of a very different era that borders on vintage. But prices are reasonable, and so is selection. I'd favor a watch with a record of maintenance within the last 5 years. And I should also mention that unlike the pusher-operated JLC version of this calendar, the IWC uses a relatively high-geared crown-set calendar advance, so correcting a calendar several years behind the current one shouldn't be occasion to return the watch to Schaffhausen for updating. So you can see how you've got the years. This is unidirectional. Don't adjust past the current year, but if you're 2 or 3 years behind and you see this watch for sale online, don't worry. It only takes a few minutes with the quick set. The JLC version is going to require a lot of time with the tool, to the point where if you're a couple years back, I would advise sending the JLC one back to JLC. This you can do without help from your watchmaker. Okay, in the box tonight, guys, stay with me. Help me to get to those 300 concurrent viewers. You know how much that means to me, plus how much it means to my streaming on demand after the fact. 1776 Tellier. Hey, Tim from Texas. Independent watchmaker here, telling you talk about other watchmakers. Yes, I do. Your knowledge is always impressive. I appreciate that. I would like to be one of you someday. That's my great dream in this industry. That would be my PhD. So carry on and definitely send me some shots of what you're working on in the shop. We've got Quarters Eye. We've got Neff saying, I miss those old IWC Da Vinci ads. And we got Justin D. Hey, Tim, would love to hear your thoughts on the IWC GST perpetual calendar. I have a 7-inch wrist, thanks. I can't tell you like I can show you, but if you check my 1916 company reviews page, you can see how it looks on my wrist. What do I think of the watch? I think it's great, but in terms of fit, it's not something I can describe. I can wear it on a 16 centimeter wrist, but you're going to want to see how it looks. I always say try before you buy. If you get it from us, you've got a 7-day, no questions asked return policy. Pocket Watch Time and Jean-Claude Beaver along with Nate Meyer jumping in. Mark S. Tim, did you see Terrifier 3? What did you think of it? Yes, and I'm not sure how much of a review I can give you on this family show, other than to recommend you not bring the family. Okay. Nope, I can't say anything. It lives up to its name, put it that way. But it's also got a sense of humor in the very twisted sense. All right, guys, Omega. Omega is known for chronographs tied to space exploration and dive watches that are tied to fictional secret agents. By the way, you ever wonder how a guy can be a secret agent when he shows up and people are like, Bond, James Bond, I presume. If they already know who he is, he's not very secret. But then again, that's why I always thought Roger Moore was the best Bond, because he understood that this was inherently a comedic role. So, for nearly $10,000 on the nose, I would say you can have another class of watch from Omega, yes, in a complication field historically associated with Patek Philippe. That's right, the Worldtimer. The Omega version, with bracelet, Costs $9,900, but in stainless steel with a 150 meter water resistance, this is a serious sports watch, not a delicate dress accessory. Specs are insane. Over 15,000 ampere per meter, that's over 1.5 Tesla of magnetic resistance. It's better than COSC in precision, being tested in 6 positions and fully cased up. It has immense shock resistance and a very cool laser ablated titanium dial, where the closer you get, the more impressive it is. And that's a rarity on mass-produced watches. You've got that lovely combination of sort of cream cities and blue cities, depending on whether they are cities that use winter and summertime. And then you've got a sapphire disc with the 24-hour display, along with a very subtle teak deck concept. It's a really good-looking dial. At 43 millimeters, this isn't a universal fit like a Patek Worldtimer, but then again, few of the Patek Worldtimers are this versatile, this durable, and this well loomed. So, yes, there's a strap version of this Aqua Terra. Get it as an accessory. For only $200 more, you can get the bracelet and never look back. Get the bracelet and buy the strap if you must have the strap, but always get the bracelet. I hear endless lamentations about the price of new watches today, but the obsession with buying new overlooks both the aftermarket prices of most watches, which still depreciate significantly, and the potential service life of watches, which, with attention and care, is indefinite, guys. And because this watch only came out in 2019, none of them are old and most are still under warranty. I would say buy with confidence. Jumping back into the box, Norm M, being asked by Mark S, who is his favorite Bond? You know, I'm a rare Roger Moore partisan, but I can see the argument for Connery. And I would say, who is your best one-movie James Bond? Like, if you were to take the best solo performance, that theoretically qualifies all of them. Let me know what you think in the box. Time Hill saying that Aqua Terra Worldtimer is tremendous value. And Abdul saying, looks great on the strap. I do agree it looks better on the strap. Still get the bracelet. Moto Gunner, I'm a huge fan of the Aqua Terra Worldtime. Phenomenal dial, especially the summer blue. And I definitely agree with that. Okay, Norm M saying, each was very different. Brosnan looked the part. Early Connery was the part. Possibly Craig was the best overall. Biggest missed opportunity, Dalton. I'm going to absorb some of that. Troy Kent, love the Aqua Terra Worldtimer Summer Blue. Joe Tyson, Timothy Dalton is my pick. That is a controversial but increasingly frequent revisionist assessment of the two Dalton Bonds. All right, guys, viewer wrist shots. I asked, you answered. Hakan K cruises Istanbul's legendary Bosphorus Strait with his Rolex family on board in Turkey. Darth Muppet signs his new Canadian passport with Mont Blanc and the Omega Worldtimer. Very topical. Nick B from Minnesota takes his Moon Swatch and Porsche 944 PCA on the road for fall fun. Tez F explores apple orchards with his new Rolex Explorer. And Vinci is on or off road with his Jeep Gladiator and Omega Speedmaster Professional. Note, manual transmission Jeep Gladiator. Send your wrist shots to Monday Mailbag at the1916company.com or, for nostalgic purposes, thewatchbox.com. All right, guys. What does a $10,000 watch look like in 2025? Before we get there, stay with me. Be a concurrent viewer. If you can get me up to 300 views during the stream, I do that much better in the next week. I don't ask you to like. I don't ask you to subscribe. I just ask you to stay tuned, please. I would be much obliged. Mark S. saying, best single movie effort from Russia with love. Also one of the best Bond villains, too. Ruthlessly played. We also have Darren Brown. Has to be Pierce Brosnan as the best Bond for me. I think there's a case to be made based on GoldenEye as a one-movie best Bond. If they were all that good, he would have been the new Connery. What else going on in the box? Neff, Goldfinger, baby. Filmed right here in Kentucky, at least parts of it. True, and I love how if you look in the background in some of those scenes inside the town, when they're, the agents are following Bond, they're stopping alongside a mid-60s vintage KFC, and it looks so weird. We got Mr. Jiggly Balls. Tim, do you have any alternative watches with the same kind of dial as a Roger Dubuis Homage double tourbillon rhodium-plated sunburst guilloche? I would say the closest thing I can think of is there were a couple of Corum watches with a double tourbillon in the mid-2010s. I would look there. What else is going on here? We have Watch You Are. You should come back to Zurich. I'd like to. Got a good friend, Alexander, who is a resident of Zurich and a good all-around guy, plus a top-level watch and car collector. Harry Steve, Goldeneye is up there with Thunderball, Goldfinger, etc., but the rest of the Brosnan films went downhill quick. And then we've got Thomas Burnett, love going to Turkey, a beautiful country. I would also love to go to Turkey. Okay. Hi crew, let me tease you with a bit of what's coming next Monday. So this is a diversion from our main topic tonight, but I think it'll be worth your while. If you remember my movement macros and decoration features from earlier this year, expect more of that next week. Believe it or not, nobody alive takes more macro still photography of watches than I do. I'm not known for it, but I usually package these with articles on Quill and Pad, but those articles generally only use less than 10% of the photos I take. So next week, expect a full feature that explains movement decoration in style and quality. Let's take a quick look. Roger W. Smith, Series 4, this passed my desk, triple calendar moon phase, launched in 2015. This piece is unique and one of only 10 made. So that is the distance shot. Note the total absence of a bevel. That's not his style, that's not vintage British watchmaking. But here is his engraving, which as you can see is entirely manual and state-of-the-art. And this, because we are talking Roger W. Smith, is his latest single-wheel tri-level version of the Daniels coaxial escapement, and that rose gold bridge above the coax is probably the best finished single piece of the watch. Okay, Patek Philippe 5270p, guys, here it is, salmon dial. It's the original one from 2018. Column wheel and levers. Check out the detail. Check out how the steel levers and springs and horns are all finished. Take a look at the gold minute jumper pawl. Now off to the right of the pawl, you can see the pawl wheel for the jumper. Go back one slide, and you can see the black polished cap to the column wheel off to the left. Go forward one slide. Now you can see that that jumper is gold gilded. You can see the wire spring that operates it. Absolutely beautiful. As close as you get, it becomes more and more impressive, not less. Plus, from Germany, Moritz Grossmann tremblage dial. It's a monoblock, no applique pieces. Take a look closer at the detail. The track and the numerals are raised in relief from the micro-engraved tremblage dial. And guys, the movement. Oh my goodness. When you're making 1/10 as many watches per year as Lange, you can do what Lange does, but with more heart, intricacy, and detail. That engraving goes way beyond a Lange und Söhne. And take a look at that black polished fine index and the screw system that is proprietary to Moritz Grossmann. They even hand engraved the adjustment scale. Unique hands, needle-like, cut, finished, fired, in an entirely manual effort. No one makes hands and fires them quite as purple as Moritz Grossmann. And let's get this straight, no matter what you think of the new Cubitus, there are watches in its class for less than a quarter of the money that offer a lot of value, and even a similar aesthetic. The Gérard Perregaux Laureato was an original back in the day when it debuted in 1975. It was part of the first class of this style of watch. Today it's $14,300 retail price, varies more from a Holy Trinity alternative, I think more by its price than its quality, which is comparable. This isn't a watch, though, to buy at retail rates. Not right now, not yet. At 42 millimeters in steel, with a hobnail green, blue, or silver dial, this is a worthwhile alternative qualitatively to something like an Aquanaut 5167 or a Royal Oak 15510, and I mean that in earnest. The only real shortcoming on this watch is maybe the bracelet, which lacks the complex surfacing of a Royal Oak or Overseas, but the Laureato bracelet does match the Aquanaut's bracelet in quality and detail, and sits roughly on par with the much more expensive Chapek Antarctique. Caliber decoration of the GP 1800 truly is on par with Audemars Piguet's equivalent, and AP charges a lot more money, but I think GP's bevels, stripes, and that entire barrel bridge look better than on the AP, and I really like the solarized barrel cover and the polished ratchet wheel. That looks fantastic, and I like that they went with a symmetrical batwing-like bridge and true mirrored rounded bevels on the bridges and the rotor. Now, GP's aftermarket still reflects its prior owner, Kering's, indifference to promotion and marketing, which is why right now retail isn't strong, meaning these are great opportunities for the collector. I endorse the watch on quality, and I think with these prices, it is a cannot miss value. Let's take a look at what's going on in the box. We have Mr. Jiggly Balls. How did the Laureato movement finish compare to Holy Trinity? Better than AP, I would say on par with Patek and Vacheron, although truthfully, I would say it really depends. If we're talking a Patek 324, a Vacheron 2460, on par. If we're talking something like a Patek 31260 or one of the high-end watches like a 5316, obviously an R27, any of its forms is going to be more intricately finished. There are echelons of finish at Patek. I think as far as the sports watches are concerned, it's comparable. We got Norm M saying, Tim, like power windows in cars, when is 70 hours of power reserve going to become standard? I think it is now. Years ago, Georges Kern told me that the standard was going to be 70 hours when Rolex adopted it across the board, and that's pretty much happened. I think right now, Omega's lagging, but Breitling, Rolex, and many others, they're there right now. AP is there right now. And we got Derek D. London. Evening, Tim, looking forward to those macros. Guys, stay with me. We're just about at 300. We are at 297. And a question, have you held a crayon anywhere? Not yet. All right. Jumping into dress watches. How about a dress watch, guys? We've had a lot of sports pieces, but how about we cut our target price in half? And how about we go with a genuine French independent brand? Pekinet, out of Morteau, has been around for decades, but its on-again, off-again fortunes and minimal distribution outside of France have kept the brand off the radar of many collectors. The 2024 Royale Paris Adventurine, take a good look at that case and that dial, is a stunning Adventurine glass dial in a 41mm case. This dial benefits from the absence of a date window, delicate alpha hands, and the visual punch of flanking cow horn lugs. This is a great looking watch. At 41 in steel, I'm all about it. Caliber Royale is the company's own and provides 100 hours of manual wind power reserve, and its origins as a dive watch caliber are clear from the free sprung balance and the full balance bridge. Finish is excellent for the price. Now, it's not perfect because the movement clearly is converted from an automatic winder and it looks a bit barren in its manual form. That said, it fits the case well. And the spec is excellent with 100 hours of reserve. Only 30 examples of the Royale will be built, and directly converted dollar price is about $4,250, and that might even overstate the price since European euro prices are usually quoted with VAT, and as an international buyer beyond the Eurozone, you wouldn't be paying that. So I don't know if VAT is factored in, but even at $4,250, this is a great deal. They're only going to make 30 of them, so exclusivity and beauty are both assured. It's also the lowest priced watch that we've discussed so far. Okay, viewer wrist shouts number 3. Ethan M. of the U.S. Marine Corps marks this Veterans Day with his broadsword Omega Seamaster Diver 300 meter. Semper Fi. We got Eddie S. of Sweden, showcases generations of Rolex Submariner from his Stockholm domicile by the river. John A. rolls with his 1916 sourced Submariner Kermit, thank you for trusting our company, and his Jeep Wrangler in Florida. We've got Ed K, who's at Vancouver Airport with his Grand Seiko SBGN 007, speaking of Bond, his GMT Caliber 9F. And we've got Sandeep G, who storms the road with his Seiko SKX and Acura NSX. By the way, check out the true military Humvee that photobombed this thing out in front. He did not mention that in the email. I think that was just happenstance. Send your shots to Monday Mailbag at the1916company.com for the opportunity to see your wrist on my list. Okay, let's take a look at a few more of my macros, guys. Full screen now. Debitoon DB28 GS Yellow Submarine. That's all fired yellow titanium, not gold. Take a look at the shock protection. Even the shock protection spring, which is patented, is hand finished. And look at the engine turning. That's called microlight. Plus, okay, not a macro shot, but the LED with dynamo-powered LEDs driven by the mainspring barrels, absolutely off the hook on this diver. Or the Ulysse Nardin Freak S Nomad, which is new for this year. You have a carousel with two oscillators. They're geared together by a differential. So two oscillators, two escapements, silicone hairsprings and balance wheels, silicone escapements, and then the whole carousel with its two oscillators averaged together by a differential, plus engine-turned guilloche in sand-colored pyramide cut. It's actually a barleycorn pyramide hybrid. Gorgeous stuff. Along und Sonne, Datograph, the original. Column wheel. Look at that. Black polished and crenellated. Plus the clutch. The clutch on this watch is a work of art with multiple outward pointed bevels and at least two sharp inward bevels in steel. Look at those golden chaton. Look at both fired and polished screws. This thing is the works. And look at that clutch spring off to the left. Guys, moving on from the macros, and we will get lots of them next week, one quick disappointment, which is that you cannot quite score a Breguet Tradition 7027 for $10,000. I looked, I tried, I'd hoped, but I cannot responsibly recommend any of the $10,000 price point Traditions. But I wanted to at least note that this Patek level execution of quality and architecture and finish is available from reputable sellers for $13,000 to $15,000, and I highly recommend it. So it doesn't fit our theme, but still recommended. All right, now for a stretch. A watch that originally retailed for $22,900, launched back in 2010. From Germany, it is the Glashütte Original Senator Diary. Behold the world's most deluxe alarm watch. And yes, that includes the Patek Philippe 5520, because its setting system permits the selection of a date up to 31 days in advance of the present. The date is off to the right of the screen. The setting system for the alarm with on-off is off to the left. So you can set the alarm up to 31 days in advance of your present time. Once selected, the day down at the bottom of the dial can be set in a 24-hour format to signal 5 a.m. wake-ups or 5 p.m. dinner engagements. And at 42 millimeters in steel, it's got a lot of presence, but it is not huge. And you can see I could definitely wear it. It fits, and I'm pulling it tight in that picture. Caliber 100 is a credible German automatic. Twin barrels, flyback seconds, 55-hour power reserve, nicely decorated, and it has real pedigree and visual appeal, plus it's large enough for this sizable reference. 86 jewels. You don't see many movements with that many jewels. That's like 4 conventional automatic winding Swiss calibers. Adjustments too, and this is what's really neat. This is why it has 86 jewels. Adjustments made to the current date and time on the dial and on the date display will render corresponding alterations to the alarm system. For example, if you advance your date 4 days, the watch knows to reduce the alarm schedule by that amount. Same for time. Now, I called this a stretch because the Senator Diary is uncommon. It's an uncommon watch, and it's hard to find one. It's also going to be hard, even among what is out there, to find one for $10,000. This will require some patience, but we've sold them for that price, so I know they're out there. That will be time well spent in the hunt. It's even fairly well loomed, so this is a watch that can do everything. Jumping in the box, and we have Mr. Jigglyball saying, Tim, low-key is one of the reasons the Breguet Traditions have gone up in price from all the years talking about it as insane value for money. Well, I can't move the market, but you guys can. Hopefully you guys are catching on. Those are great watches. They won't be a secret forever. And we had Harry Steve, when speaking of French micro brands, you got to mention Sartori Biard. I mention them so often, and I did a collaboration design with them, so I didn't want to mention them here because I didn't want to repeat myself or be self-promoting. But go to Armand Biard's website, Sartori Biard, check out the SB04 Tim Mosso. I don't get 1 cent of that. All the money goes to Armand. My contribution was designing it. And woo! 340, guys. Thank you for making it happen. We have Caliber YQG saying that Geo Alarm is amazing, and Abdul, the 7027 is my brigade to get. I think I know you, Abdul. We're sort of on the same plane. I think we both think that the original in 37 millimeters in yellow gold with yellow gold dial is the way to go. And then we've got Abdul saying Guilloche at its finest, and I think he's talking about that Ulysse Nardin. What else is going on? Enrique Cassiano saying that Biard with the purple dial is insane. Thank you so much. I'm very proud of that one. Also the crosshair, the granular center, the alphas, and the Breguet numerals. We got Hey Bob joining in from Ireland, staying up late on the Emerald Isle. And we got No Biggie Sal, best Cartier for under 10K. I would say the current Santos Large, brown dial. Brown dial is, in my opinion, the best of the current Santos Large. Beautiful watch, great value, the most sophisticated bracelet you can buy at any price from anyone. And then we've got Neil asking, is there a Breguet alarm movement in another make of watch? Well, Breguet and Blancpain share a common, but there is also a musical Breguet alarm that is huge and costs a lot more money, and that one is a Breguet exclusive. We have a question from MP. Do you stay in contact with TGV? No, we were kind of ships in the night. When we were here, we worked at different offices. We didn't talk a lot. He does a different kind of show that caters to a different audience. I wish him the best. He's a smart guy, he's a good presenter, and he's obviously got a lot more views than I do. But we just didn't have a lot of contact, and I haven't really spoken to him in years. I also liked working with Federico, but again, there's a guy I haven't spoken to in years. We have a comment from RNS GP Laureato Chrono. If you can get one for 10 grand, highly recommended. And Grandmaster Chime, happy Monday watch people. Speaking of our watch people, viewer wrist shots number 4. Matt F visits the Art Deco Marine building with his Isotope Mercury, which is one of the coolest micro brand watches out there. AJ Gordon attends the Mexican Grand Prix with his faded vintage Rolex GMT Master 1675 Pepsi. We got Jean H, who shares his MB&F Mad 1 while visiting the 1916 Company's Denver Mall location. Thank you for visiting our team. Gareth sends, well, a shot from Anvil, a heavy metal band playing in London with his Ulysse Nardin Diver Yoshida edition. By the way, I love any heavy metal photos you can send. I will automatically post those up. Unless it's Cannibal Corpse and they're doing something on stage that I can't show on the internet, or at least this facet of the internet. Sanila M celebrates her daughter's birthday with Cartier and more. Nate S and Vessel the Cat take us home with a Sunday shot of their Tudor Black Bay. Black Cat and Black Bay. It warms my heart. Guys, send your wrist shots to MondayMailbag at the1916company.com to see your passion in this fashion. Thanks to one and all you guys who participated, all of our active duty military, all of our veterans out there, all of our military families, and of course, to Nick behind the switcher tonight and all of you for making the best job in watches possible. Signing off, time out.